All right, guys. Today in this podcast, we're going to talk about the Ken Griffey Jr. doc that aired on Father's Day, and kind of discuss some of the bigger icons that paved the way for where we are right now and other Trailblazers. So yeah, let's hop into it. Ryota, how do you like the documentary to start off? What do you think about it?
Um, I thought the documentary was really good, as a Seattle fan. But first off, I want to give credit to the narrator, Sterling
Mm.
Brown. I'm a huge fan of him. I watched the This Is Us TV show, and he's Randall from that show, so that was kind of the first thing that popped into mind. But yeah, I mean, I think we all know how good Ken Griffey Jr. was. But watching this documentary helped me remember how special he was. Right, he wasn't just a Hall of Famer; he's probably one of the most well-known Hall of Famers ever, I think, in the big leagues.
Yeah, he is. I think the only one. I think it when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think it was 99.23%.
Yeah, I think
So
there's like two or three voters that
yeah,
didn't
two or
vote
three
for him.
voters that didn't vote for him. So yeah, he is one of the most well-known baseball players of our time. Um, yeah, it kind of gave me goosebumps. What do you think? Like, just watching it, I felt like I don't know, like I wanted baseball back, and I wanted the Mariners. Um, it was great to see. I'm happy they did that and put the time in to kind of like reminisce on his greatness because it was so special. Yeah, so let's see. He was drafted by the Mariners in 1987 and number one overall. And it took him as a 17-year-old. So it took him only 2 years to come up to the major leagues,
Hmm.
which is unheard of in today's game,
Yeah,
right?
it's
I think,
definitely difficult to do.
yeah, Bryce Harper might have been the last one to do it when he was still a
Yeah,
teenager.
but Bryce Harper, even then, he went to junior college, I think, right, or
Okay,
community college, or something like that. But I mean, Ken Griffey literally just straight out of high school. I mean, he took the LeBron path, kind of.
exactly.
That's the person that people compare him to. But it's crazy.
Well,
Yeah, thinking
before
he's
LeBron,
19.
even before LeBron,
Well, yeah, obviously.
and even
Well,
before
that's
like
true.
Kobe
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah.
It's crazy to see. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that he was 19 and succeeding, right? He was starting. He wasn't just a bench player, role player. He
Hmm.
was making a huge impact, hitting big home runs in the, Kingdom. Um, Kingdom, right? No,
Yeah,
Metrodome.
it is
Kingdom.
Kingdom.
Okay.
It's where the
What's the
Seahawks also played.
Metrodome? I was thinking, wait,
The
Metrodome is
Metrodome.
the Twins, right? Um, right?
Oh yeah, no. Well, now it's Target
Sorry,
Field.
okay, I was mixing those two up. Um, but yeah, I mean, Griffey was a iconic player for all Seattle fans, and I think he's a player you can't really hate as a non-Seattle fan too. He's not like a Rod or I don't know other people you don't really like watching. But Ken Griffey, I think he's admired by all, which I think is really cool about him also.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting also because he was a kind of his dad was also in the league, so he had that kind of pedigree in the sense that he grew up around baseball, and then people knew about him as well. And he was a man in high school. Like watching back the tape of the documentary, we got to see some video of him in high school, and he just looked like he was destined to be great in the MLB. And I think that's super special, and I'm just happy the Mariners got him. But also, he would have been an impact anywhere he went. I think he was
Hmm.
just a generational talent. And yeah, like you said, he you couldn't hate him.
Hmm.
He grew up in the time, or he played in the time of the steroid era, right?
Hmm.
So you
Yeah.
had like the Barry Bonds, the McGuires, the Sammy Sosas, and for as we know, and what reports have said, he played clean. So like
Hmm.
you can't really dock a guy for that.
Exactly.
Um, as for A Rod, I don't know. A Rod is just A Rod's like I don't know. He was a Mariners, so like we have that with him, but he chased the money, I think, and then obviously going to the Yankees makes him a villain in in
Hmm.
in the major leagues, no matter what.
Hmm.
But it was great to see. What do you think? What was your favorite moment? Let's go moment by moment.
I mean, I think watching the gameplay was the best, game highlights, because again, like I was so little. I mean, I probably wasn't even watching baseball back then. So like watching him, actually playing in Mariner uniform was really cool because I don't really watch that except the
Hmm.
highlights, but watching a documentary just made it feel more real. The narration was cool. listening to former teammates like Jay Buhner talk. I'm surprised Randy Johnson wasn't in it, now that I think about it.
Sorry?
I'm surprised Randy Johnson wasn't in it, now that I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
we got to
anyways,
see some highlights of him, but he was also a unit. No wonder they called
yeah.
him the
So we
unit.
should talk about the whole Mariner team
Yeah,
back then
yeah,
later.
that
But
is true.
I mean, it's fun listening to Dan Wilson and everybody else talk about him. Listening to Nihau's commentation.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it just felt like a feel good documentary movie for me to watch. So
I also think going back to, kinda like him being a teenager in the league, I thought it was pretty funny when they called him up, for spring training, and it was like, "This guy can
oh yeah,
take a few shots, but he'll probably go back to the
yeah,
minors."
exactly.
And then, like, the players like Harold Reynolds was like, "Well, this guy can rake."
Yeah.
And then he's starting at, like, I think he was batting 3rd or maybe 1st,
Hmm.
his rookie year, and it's just insane, like, how fast they were like, "Boom." You can take a few slots in spring training, but then he ends up having an amazing rookie year, and then it's history from there. Uh, I also think it was really cool to see like the players of the past, the Mariners. Harold Reynolds, like I said, you talked about Dan Wilson. This team was great. Edgar Martinez.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
keep forgetting
gosh.
about see Edgar also wasn't speaking in it, which was I was kind of
Yeah.
shocked by. But I mean, it's obviously all about Ken, so
Hmm.
maybe don't
But
want to take away from it.
he also Edgar Martinez cannot be is not even a slouch. Like that team was great. Like you
Hmm.
talk about Mike Trout not having protection.
Hmm.
Edgar Martinez right there, just
Hmm.
the perfect complement to Ken Griffey Jr. There
Hmm.
was no wonder he was raking. You couldn't like not um it was hard for pitchers to go up against Edgar.
Hmm.
Nevertheless, Ken Griffey.
Hmm.
Um Another cool moment I thought like watching back from it was definitely the Yankees part and
Hmm.
seeing his hatred for the
Yeah,
Yankees. I
it's
thought that
something
was
I
pretty.
definitely learned. I didn't realize, like, I didn't know his dad had to go through that, and that's like a whole nother just political racism issue that just
Yeah,
it's part of everything. But I think it's cool that they made that, they brought that to light and kind of
exactly.
gave reasoning for why too.
It definitely was. So for people that don't know, Ken Griffey Sr., his dad played for the Yankees and was on that Yankees team. And I think did he win 2 World Series with them or was that with Cincinnati? That was with Cincinnati, I think.
Cincinnati, yeah.
But I think near the end of his career, he played for the Yankees,
Mhm.
and there was some turmoil. Ken Griffey Jr. Obviously grew up um, around his dad, so he got to see firsthand how it was. Um, but I thought it brought some sort of like excitement.
Mhm.
As Mariners fans, we are definitely this team that doesn't have the payroll, it doesn't have the big lights, and it was kind of cool reminiscing in that 1995 game about how we beat them and came back.
Yeah.
That whole season was magical, and I wish
Mhm.
I was there. I
Mhm.
wish we were able to watch it, or at
Mhm.
least go to the game because
Mhm.
wow, we were down 11. The Mariners were down 11 games um, to make it to the postseason, and they
Mhm.
came back and won it.
Yeah.
It was insane. What do you think about also kind of going keeping with the father theme? How do you like that? How they talked about with Griffey and Griffey on the same team with the Mariners? I thought that was pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, we rarely see that. I mean, they were the first, father-son duo to play on the same team. I don't even know if there has been another duo since,
Yeah, I
but
don't
I know
think
they were the first for sure. But it's cool, like,
exactly.
just thinking that they're
It's
on the
tough
same
to
team,
do.
they're talking, crap to each other.
Hmm.
It's definitely a cool thing that you don't get to see. Like, I thought we were really close to seeing, Vlad and um, his son, but it
Yeah.
just didn't quite work out. But it's really
Oh
cool. I
my
mean, it's pretty
gosh.
cool how, I mean, Ken Griffey's dad was not a Hall of Famer, but he was still a pretty solid player, and he played until he was really old too. So like, that's kind of cool. Just to show the competitiveness that they have in that family, and how that definitely passed on to Ken's success.
Yeah. I mean, what like just to have that happen, everything has to line up so perfectly.
Hmm.
Like senior has to be productive in his like late 30s,
Hmm.
right? To warrant a spot on the roster.
Hmm.
And then Ken Griffey has to get up to the majors
Hmm.
in quick enough time.
Hmm.
One thing that there's been speculation is LeBron James. um, possibly being able to play with his son,
Yeah,
Ronnie.
that would be pretty cool.
Do you think that could happen? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, let's see. How old is LeBron? Like 36?
I know this is, I think it's his
I'm gonna
17th
fact check
year
it.
in the league.
Let's
He
check.
came out
LeBron
of
James is 35.
35. So
How old is
Bronny,
Bronny? Bronny's like a junior in high school.
oh
He's
gosh,
15,
he's 15. So he needs at least, right? You need to be a freshman, so you need to be 20 or
about
you could be
20,
19.
19 or 20.
5 years minimum, probably. Do you think LeBron has it? I bet he does. I mean, he's still
I'm
playing
sure
at.
he's thinking about it. I'm
You
sure
think he is?
he wants to play with Bronny. I mean,
Y-
we haven't seen a father-son duo. I mean, that I can remember, a famous one since Ken Griffey.
Yeah, I don't.
So I think I wouldn't be surprised if that's a goal. And LeBron's like, I mean, he's in great shape for being 35. I mean, he's kind of
He
like the
is
Ichiro in the NBA.
exactly.
So
Do
I mean,
you what sport do you think is most possible to do that? A father son combo. Do you think it's baseball because you can come out of high school?
well, but the thing, but if you come out of high school, you usually take longer in the minors, right? So it's definitely tough. So like, I mean, I think soccer,
Okay.
honestly, because soccer, there's not a whole lot of like you can be 16 and play in professional leagues, you
Oh
know.
wow. Yeah.
So I think soccer's the easiest, but also players don't play in their 40s because it's a lot of running.
Mm-hmm.
But basketball, also, see, I don't know. I
See,
guess baseball because like if you're not a pitcher, maybe baseball,
that's true.
but
But I feel like for baseball, like you can play to your 40s and be like pool holes,
yeah.
right? Pool holes
But I
is
mean,
still
it's still rare. Like, how
it
many
is rare,
Jamie
yeah.
Moyers are there? How many? Yeah, Pujol. I mean,
Yeah.
Pujols is how he's not 40.
He's
He
getting up there. And the Angels signed him, I think 6 years ago to a
Pujols
huge
is oh he is 40.
but like that, yeah. So it could be I think LeBron is definitely the closest. And I feel like he's lined it up for a few years. I think he knew in his head. He was like, I'm
Hmm.
gonna I'm gonna play uh until my son comes up and I can
Hmm.
play with him. Because that would be special.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I also saw a pretty interesting thing if we're talking about legends here. I was watching a YouTube clip and I saw Pete Rose for the Cincinnati Reds when he was like 42 and he was a player coach. So talk about like longevity.
Mm,
He was a manager player. So
mhm,
there was one video where he actually pinch hit himself and got a single. And then when he got on first base, he took himself right out for another player. So just talking about the longevity of baseball and how long they can last. I mean,
mhm.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
What? Give me another moment you liked about the documentary.
yeah. Huh. I think when they highlighted why he went back to Cincinnati, like that's not something I totally knew about.
Yeah.
But also like wasn't I think around that time like maybe I wasn't into MLB that much or
Hmm.
like reading news. But I think that was cool how I mean, no one ever likes seeing the hometown kid leave for any situation. Like, no one wanted Tom Brady to leave, but he it's the
Hmm.
circumstances, right? And Ken Griffey, I think it's really cool. Like, he had a clear reason. Like, he
Yeah.
wanted to go home,
Yeah. And I
and be
think
with his family. So I think
exactly.
it was cool that they brought that to light, and now we kind of understand why. Because I had no idea why he went to Cincinnati. Honestly, I thought he was just like traded or he's a free agent, but now I know, and I think it makes him even seem like a better guy than I already thought he was. So.
Yeah. I think it was definitely like the documentary definitely shed light on that because that was during his prime. Like
Mhm,
he came out was like I want to be traded right away, and then
mhm,
it just happened super quickly.
mhm.
Um, I kind of liked seeing Macklemore in the documentary
Yeah, yeah.
and other like not technically baseball players, but
Mhm,
like other fans, and like how they kind of we saw their perspective.
mhm,
And then of course the 1995 uh, playoff game against the
mhm,
Yankees where he rounded third and
mhm,
came home.
mhm.
I that still gives me goosebumps and
Yeah,
chills. And
yeah.
it's something that the Mariners, I feel like as a fan, we always have,
Mhm,
even through these losing seasons.
yeah. Did you
Um,
watch, they had a benefit concert yesterday, for, like, the COVID they had, like, a COVID charity concert on TV. Macklemore was like a big part of it.
Oh,
I was just
nice.
wondering if you saw that or not.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Was it what who else, was in it?
I mean, just a bunch of Seattle artists. So it was like Macklemore, Ben Gibbard, the singer from Death Cab for Cutie, Brandy Carlisle, Pearl Jam.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but yeah, I mean, that just reminded me because you talked about Macklemore because Macklemore's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely crazy how much sports can, like, impact a whole city, you
Hmm.
know? Like, this was the Mariners, and we can get to, like, LeBron's impact and other
Hmm.
impacts, a little later on, but, like, the Mariners had a losing season all the way up until he came, and then
Hmm.
he kinda just transcended the city and
Hmm.
gave the city hope.
Hmm.
Um, he helped revitalize and, like, bring a new stadium to the city and kinda, like, probably was one of the one players to, like, keep the
Hmm.
Mariners in Seattle, so, like, it's just crazy how much he can have in such a short time. I mean, it was
Hmm.
only I think he only spent 8 years here
Hmm.
and then was traded to
Hmm.
the Cincinnati Reds and then played, like, a few months with the White Sox and then came back
Hmm.
home, but it's crazy. I think it's also were you able to watch him when he came back to the Mariners for that one season?
I remember watching. Yeah,
Mhm.
I
I
remember
think that
watching.
was also pretty cool, and then him reuniting with or him playing alongside Ichiro.
Yes, that's another cool. I mean, because those are two stars that you know
Two
they're iconic Mariner players, right? And I think it's
Yeah,
cool. I think it's just also cool he came back. I really enjoyed when he did come back. Like maybe he wasn't hitting bombs, but I mean, it's Ken Griffey's. He's back in Seattle, right? And that was
yeah,
really cool. Good mentorship for some other players. I'm sure they really enjoyed playing with the Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, at the time. Um, but I mean, when you talk about Ken Griffey becoming, I guess yeah, raising the Mariners to another level. Like during that time, the Sonics were there,
mhm.
and
You're
it's
right.
kind of sad. It's just weird thinking about like when he went to Cincinnati, and then when he finished his time in Cincinnati, that's when the Sonics were gone. So we kind of
That's
had this.
crazy.
I mean, Ichiro came in what in 2000 or 2001, like right after Griffey. So it kind of actually he filled, Griffey's big shoes, which worked out really well. But yeah, I mean, imagine if we had the Sonics during that time. I mean, just
Yeah,
I guess this whole 20, 30 years, if we had the Sonics this entire time, while the Seahawks are getting better, while the Sounders are getting better, it's just you think about it, like wow.
yeah.
Uh,
It's also very interesting because he kinda was that player to make to, like, put baseball in the
mhm.
limelight. He was the first to receive, a signature shoe.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
I thought that was pretty cool too, because
Hmm.
like, that is somebody that we as Mariner fans can relate to, but everybody now can relate to because
Hmm.
everybody's wearing those sneakers, kinda similar to Michael Jordan. So he
Hmm.
had that impact. He was on movies. He was definitely the star
Hmm.
of that time, of the '80s and '90s.
Hmm.
And I don't know, can you I don't wanna, like, relate him too much or compare him too much, but can you give me a baseball player that has had this big of an impact probably right now or, like, maybe a few years ago? Like, can you give
Yeah,
me somebody similar to that in
yeah. I
status?
think when we think about baseball players, um, well, first off, when I think of a Hall of Famer like Derek Jeter, because again, Ken Griffey was so respected. Like, I think he's not one of those players you could hate. Like everything
Mm,
he does is good. Like he's good in public. He's not crazy on social media or partying or whatever. So he's a very respected guy. And same with Derek Jeter. When he saw those commercials of him retiring, I had the really cool Nike Jordan commercial where the Red Sox fans tip their cap to Jeter, even though they're Red Sox fans. That was like a really cool moments. And yeah, I think even Red Sox fans, even they hate the Yankees, like you have to like Jeter. So from around that time, I think Jeter's a good example. And Jeter kind of had his own. Well, he was sponsored by Jordan too, right? He didn't have his own signature shoe, I think, but he wore Jordan gear, and it's kind of like a cool promotional person. In that aspect. But like, look at Mike Trout. He has his own signature Nike cleat. Um, it's not as cool as Griffey's, but he's one of the few that has any has their own type of gear,
mhm.
especially in baseball because that's just so rare. Like basketball, yeah, so many guys. There's like five different signature shoes for Nike, a couple for Adidas, and for Under Armour. But yeah, the only signature shoes I can think of in baseball are Mike Trout and Bryce Harper right
Yeah,
now. So
and they have definitely been living up to the billing as one of the premier players.
Mhm,
I sort of think it's kind of unfair the as much. I mean, people see Trout and they also see Harper,
mhm.
but I think Harper sometimes gets more of the backlash than anything. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
and maybe that's because he was so highly touted coming out, but I mean, he's still putting up numbers.
Yeah, I think well, I mean, again, this is kinda has to go back to, like, the likability of a person. Mike
Mhm,
Trout is not very, like I don't know, he's not very showy. He's not, like, on social media a lot. I kinda think of Bryce Harper as kind of this, show not show off, but, like, he has this energy, you know, he grinds on the field, but he's, like, the type of person that takes his helmet off when he's running.
mhm.
Opposed to Mike Trout is never gonna do that, I think. So there's 2 different
It's the
kind of
hair.
guys.
It's the hair.
Yeah,
That's why.
exactly, and I think,
It's the hair. You
honestly,
have
the
to have the
hair,
hair
that
though.
might actually have to do with why people hate Bryce Harper more than Mike
What?
Trout. But also Ken Griffey, now that I think about it,
Mhm,
he was kind of in between them because Ken Griffey kinda liked to talk to the media, he was charismatic, but he wasn't, like, showing off. He just played the game hard, so I think he's actually a good in between Mike Trout and Bryce Harper. So I think of
yeah,
Mike Trout as a super quiet guy. He's not that
exactly.
quiet, but, like, he seems kinda quiet, but he just rakes and he's absolute beast. And he's brought some entertainment to the Angels because before Mike Trout, I mean, the Angels had a couple of good years, when they had Torrey Hunter, Francisco
Mhm,
Rodriguez, Irvin Santana, Garrett Anderson. But up until then, Mike Trout kind of has brought, even though not as successful right now, I mean, they brought someone to really entertain them. So I think
yeah.
Mike Trout, yeah, I don't know. Harper also has, bumped around teams. Not that many, but only 2 teams. But I think people really didn't like it when he left for the Phillies too.
I think it's
But
also
I don't
interest
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think going back to kinda like the MLB and the perception, I think Griffey is what the MLB needed at that
Hmm.
time. And like you said, he was likable and he also had that charismatic characteristic,
Hmm.
so he wanted to be in the spotlight.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying Trout doesn't wanna be in the spotlight. I think he just chooses not to be.
Yeah, you can tell it's different. But
Mhm.
he's very professional, which I respect about Trout, and that's why
Yeah,
I like him even as a Mariner fan. Unfortunately, you know.
yeah. It's too bad he's in our division, but
Yeah. Another cool thing to think about. Do you think because we don't see many players staying in the same team forever, the team that
mhm.
drafted him. So Derek Jeter is one example. That's why he's so respected because he stayed loyal to the team that drafted him. Ken Griffey, I mean, his circumstance is a little different, but I mean, in the same way, he came back to retire as a Mariner, so that's
Yeah.
respectful. But I mean, do you think Trout will stay an Angel forever?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
I
I
think there's
looked up. He's
no
29, I think, and
he's gonna turn 20. I think he's going to turn 29
oh, okay.
this season. So it is crazy. He's been in the league for what, like how long? 7 years? 9? I feel like he's. I don't think
Yeah.
he's gonna leave. I don't think if he does leave,
Mhm.
it's it's not because the Angels didn't try to get him. I think it might be something else. But I don't think I think
Yeah,
it might.
because he's a big because you always see him on, social media, like, he's an Eagles fan,
Hmm.
and I mean, he grew up in New York, right? Or
I
New
think so. Yeah.
Jersey? He's
Here,
from the East Coast,
New Jersey. Yeah, he's from the East Coast.
so I wonder if he wants to go back and kinda do a Griffey thing. Maybe we see a Trout and Harper combo in Philly? No,
Yeah.
that
So he
can't be
did grow up
possible.
in New Jersey. I I don't know. I don't think he would leave. I think he's just so well respected there. I think he's
Yeah.
kind of proved like it's a trademark. Like when you see the Angels jersey, like you don't even need to see the number, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, from an Angels perspective, they are not that competitive right now. Like,
Well, they're trying to be. So that's the thing, you
yeah.
know. The Angels are trying to make a team that's competitive.
Mhm.
They brought in Shohei, right?
Yeah.
They still have Albert Pujols, and then
But
they
see,
have
I think they're
Rendon.
aging. This is kind of
They have
the
Rendon. So
they do have Rendon, I forgot.
we'll see what happens. I mean, it's kind of that thing like when you have this star player,
Mhm.
right? You kind of need somebody else to come in
Mhm.
and not and and no, you're not going to be
Mhm.
the one. And I think that's what's made Edgar Martinez so special, you know, because he didn't ask for like, okay, I'm having a Hall of Fame year, right? Um, I'm just gonna leave because Griffey's taking all of this, like the media. You need to have somebody to buy in, and I think I think that's what makes teams so special. Granted, the Mariners didn't win any World Series,
Mhm,
but they were still amazing.
mhm,
They made the playoffs, which
mhm,
now as Mariners fans we can see is really hard.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, kind of going back to like I think they're trying. I think the Angels are trying. And to finish off on your question, there's no way I see Mike Trout leaving because of the Angels saying I don't want you.
Yeah.
I think he's entrenched himself in that kind of tier.
Yeah, well, something that reminded me, or something that just came to my mind. So I was listening to CC Sabathia talk about his career on the Bill Simmons podcast, and
Mhm.
he was talking about how like so when he started as an Indian, right, and then he played for the Brewers, but those cities were like not they're not super hard on fans because maybe it's like the mentality of the people, just the fans. But like when you went to New York, it's totally different. Like the fans expect you to be all baseball. So like if you're out in the streets partying, like they're gonna like yell at you, apparently.
Interesting.
And he said the
That's really
same for
interesting.
Philly. So I forgot who he gave talked about Carl Crawford.
Okay.
So Carl Crawford kind of liked. I mean, he liked the work-life balance. He didn't want to be all work. So
Mhm.
like when he went to Philly, I think he said it was really hard for him. They were friends, and like because the Philly fans are really tough on players, kind of like the Red Sox and the. Or no, I think we was talking about when he went to the Red Sox.
Okay.
They were super hard on him because
Mhm.
they expect all baseball. But this reminds me of Trout. Like LA doesn't have that, New York, Philly, super competitive mindset as fans. So I think I don't want to say he feels secure and comfortable there, but I think that's another reason he might not want to go to a bigger team where they might be really hard on him. I think
Yeah.
that's another reason Bryce Harper is dealing with struggles a little bit. Like apparently, according to CC, Philly fans are really hard on their players, like the New York fans. So that could be another thing, another reason why Trout would stay. Because I mean, I feel like LA is a
Yeah.
comfortable place to
I
stay, or play. So
Yeah, you brought up a really good point. I think remember back into the documentary when he was giving his induction speech,
mhm,
Ken Griffey that is, he said I can't quote it word for word just because I don't remember it, but I kind of know the premise. He said
mhm,
that the first team is always the one that's best or something like that. Will
mhm,
always treat you the best.
mhm,
And I think that's really interesting because like what you said, like if Trout does go to another team, maybe he'll start getting injured more, or maybe he'll decline and they'll get kind of angry at him and start
mhm,
booing him. And you wouldn't see that with the Angels because or the first team, right? Because
mhm.
you Trout has given them so much that it would
Exactly.
just be so it is interesting. And like we did see Ken Griffey he did sustain a lot of injuries when he was with Cincinnati, and
Mhm,
at times he did get booed. So kind of seeing the difference between
yeah.
teams is really interesting.
Mhm,
And maybe we will see that with Harper. I mean,
mhm.
what does it tell you when you leave the team and then that team wins the World Series? You
Yeah,
know,
that's an interesting point. Yeah.
I don't know. I maybe it was just. I mean, baseball is so weird in that way that it's so unpredictable. But
Mhm.
I don't know. It could be
Yeah.
interesting. Um, what are some other icons or trailblazers that you can think of that had this impact on sports?
Yeah, so, I mean, LeBron was in the documentary, which was pretty cool, and he had a couple moments where he's talked about, the impact of Ken Griffey. But, I mean, I think you could argue that Ken Griffey and LeBron are on similar what's the word? Like, a similar line
Tier.
or career. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the impact on the sport. Like, I
Mhm.
think you could even argue if you had a debate between a baseball fan and an NBA fan, you could have a good debate between who's better, who's more of a goat, Ken Griffey or LeBron James. I think nowadays, if you're like 17 or 16 and you haven't really witnessed Ken Griffey and don't really know, the Mariners and MLB, you'd obviously say LeBron. But I think there's a legitimate discussion to say who's a bigger goat. Ken
Mhm.
Griffey, was going to be unanimous Hall of Famer except for 3 votes, and he says they're probably Yankee fans.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That could be true or not, but LeBron James is going to be a Hall of Famer, obviously. They both have
Yeah.
their signature shoe. I think LeBron, as far as I know, LeBron has done a little bit more for like charity and like, that kind of area. I haven't really done a lot of research on Ken, but I mean, he's a good guy also. They both raised great families, so as it seems. And they've had huge impacts on the teams they played for. You know, Ken Griffey rebuilt the Mariners in a way.
Mhm.
LeBron made a huge impact on the Cavaliers. Um, he obviously won with Miami. Um, and yeah, now he's with the Lakers. But the Lakers are also always like a big team anyways. So I don't think you can say LeBron changed the Lakers if the Lakers are always the Lakers. So I think
Yeah.
there's a legitimate, debate between the 2.
I think you're right, and I also think you could also say, of course, Michael Jordan, but since
Mhm,
we didn't grow up with Michael Jordan,
mhm, exactly.
um, I guess we didn't grow up with Ken Griffey either,
Mhm,
but he's the Seattle Mariners,
mhm,
so unequivocally, we have him. No, I'm just kidding.
exactly.
But yeah, you're right, LeBron James. I mean, the Cavaliers were not great,
Mhm,
uh, before he came,
mhm,
and this is like a 6'8" guy, right? I don't know, 250, 260, and he's just an athletic freak, and he comes in his rookie year, and he performs, and then over the years, he took not the best teams. I mean, we see later on with Miami
mhm,
that kind of like movement,
mhm,
but he didn't have the best teams. I think he had Mo Williams, um, Delonte West as his like core players, and he
mhm,
he led him to finals, and he brought a new resurgence to Cleveland, which we saw with the Mariners. I
mhm,
mean, they're similar in that way that they came in as first round picks out of high school
mhm,
and were thrusted into the spotlight at an early
mhm,
age and performed.
mhm,
Um, LeBron James has impacted the NBA in ways that a lot of people really don't understand. I mean,
mhm,
he was the first player. Well, no, I guess Magic Johnson would have been this, but he kind of reinvented the positionless player in a sense. Like
mhm. That's
this
true.
is a guy that can dribble the ball, do triple doubles,
Mhm.
rebound, block,
It's a
and
great
I mean,
example. That reminds me of Ken Griffey being a 5-tool player.
yeah,
He could run,
and
he could hit
those are
for
so rare.
power, Yeah,
They're
exactly.
so rare to have. I mean, Mike Trout could be one example too
Mhm,
of just of having of being that five tool. But going back to basketball in the sense, like this man can do everything. He can guard any position. But I mean, LeBron James also has had other players. I mean, Magic Johnson was also that kind of force of being so tall yet being a point guard,
mhm,
and then you have Michael. But
mhm,
kind of staying with LeBron here for a little bit. He also, I think, kind of reinvented player movement, player independence in a way of like the 2010 decision when he took an hour long to decide to go to the Miami Heat was
mhm,
kind of a little bit too much,
mhm,
but nevertheless he kind of gave players that freedom to like, okay, it's okay to move from one team to a better team, to like link up with your friends and link up with some of the best players, you know?
mhm,
Like we didn't see that before, like yeah, Michael Jordan and Pippen, but Pippen was drafted by the Bulls, so that
mhm.
wasn't kind of that freedom.
Right.
The big three with the Boston Celtics,
Mhm,
Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. They were a big three, but they didn't come solely together. They were traded. Both Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen were traded in that 2017 or 2017. So kind of giving players freedom, LeBron has done that. Um, we see it now a lot with KD to the Warriors, right? I
mhm,
mean, that was a big deal, and I don't think that would have happened if LeBron didn't go to Miami first, you know?
mhm,
And then yeah, and then now we're seeing um, Kevin or LeBron James going back to the Lakers. So I think
mhm,
he has had an instrumental effect on the game itself.
mhm,
And then, like you said, he has been an advocate for charities all over the world, and he's used his platform
mhm,
um, to be to be to show his impact off the court, which I think is really special.
mhm,
Um, he, yeah. So I think you're correct in stating that they're on the same tier, and it's great to see. And I'm happy that we're able to witness LeBron's greatness. And it's crazy because I don't know if there will be another player similar to him. Like because obviously there's no one and dones anymore. You're not going to
mhm.
see somebody that's
Exactly.
18 years old or
Mhm,
17 years old coming and playing right away and
mhm,
being that monster of an impact. Um, but yeah, I mean, going, staying with like the icons, I think there's a lot to say about Ichiro. and
Mhm.
how he impacted the sport as well. Um, I don't know. He he also had a long tenured career, 19
Mhm.
years. Do you
Mhm.
wanna, like do you have any great moments about Ichiro and, like, how he kind of impacted your way
Yeah, I
of
mean,
sports?
Ichiro's in a weird. I mean, not weird. It's an interesting example, right? Because he's not a he's a rookie, but he's an older rookie because he played in Japan before he came
Mhm.
to MLB, so he's still considered a rookie. Um, but I mean, yeah, he fill. I mean, he had huge shoes to fill. Like he came a couple years after Griffey left, and that was a time when the Mariners are kind of mourning and trying to figure itself out. But
Mhm.
I mean, he came in, played with Edgar, um, played with a lot of good guys. Mike Cameron, like one of my favorite center fielders ever. Um, Freddie Garcia, and I mean, he really came in and took the league by storm. And as a rookie and as a young player, he just dominated.
Yeah.
And I think he's not a guy that's gonna be super flashy, except maybe on the field, like in the outfield. But like, he's not gonna hit like 500-foot home runs, but he's gonna do it. He's a consistent player. A lot of respect for him for like staying in Seattle for so long. He could
Yeah.
have left and went to the Yankees a lot earlier, but he stayed true, and he's coming back to the Mariners now to help with the team a little bit now, and I think it's really cool. I mean, yeah, and another quiet kind of guy, kind of like my Trout, not super showy. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's been my one of my favorite Mariners to ever watch.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
He definitely does have that, like I think we do lose when he left, I think as a Mariners fan, we kinda lost that structure,
Hmm.
you know? We had Griffey in that lineup for a while, and then A-Rod, but then Ichiro kind of led that surge for the
Hmm.
last I don't know how many years he played for
Hmm.
the Mariners, but he was definitely a key cog in there, and I don't know, I think he also played a critical role in like, just baseball altogether, and, like, I guess he wasn't as flashy hitting home runs, but
Hmm.
he was consistent, and I think
Yeah.
and he was also loyal, so
Yeah, and also another thing, he was one of the first Japanese players to succeed in the big leagues. Like he wasn't the first to come to the big leagues. There were a couple, there's like one or two before, that opened the doors to the big leagues
Mhm.
from Japan.
You're
But
right.
he was one of the first to really succeed, and a bunch of players have followed.
Yeah,
Like Daisuke, Kawasaki. Kawasaki was a huge Ichiro fan, which is one of the reasons why he came to Seattle specifically and played in the big leagues. But I think we're going to continue to see it. Like
y
Otani,
yeah,
yeah, there's like a 17 or 18-year-old pitcher um, in Japan that's throwing like 102 that wants to eventually come to the big leagues. But I mean, he's opened a door for a bunch of Japanese players to come to MLB, which I think we kind of forget about too. So.
exactly, yeah. I mean, I think one of the more interesting moments was in his last year with the Mariners and Shohei's first year in the majors. They were so Shohei's on the Angels, so they meet regularly, but he was able like we saw that respect that Shohei gave to Ichiro,
Hmm.
and I thought that was really, really special
Hmm.
and something that we might take for granted just because it's sports, but it's a cultural impact as well. Just to read off some stats from Ichiro, he compiled 4 MVPs in his 28-year professional career. So 4 MVPs, 9 batting titles, 10 straight seasons of 200 hits, 17 Gold Glove awards, and 17 MLB All-Star appearances in his 19-year career in the majors. But obviously, he played what is that? 9 seasons overseas. So what a great decorated career, and obviously maybe or hopefully a first ballot Hall of Fame in the near future.
I think there's no doubt. I think if he's not unanimous, I would be kind of angry.
Well, I mean, it's never been done before.
That's true.
There's always
How
that
close
one
was
person.
Derek Jeter?
Has Derek Jeter been inducted? Yeah, he has to, right? It's been 5 years, 10 years. How long
Yeah,
do you
he
have
was
to be?
elected last year. Or no, well, 2020. So this technically this year. Was
What do you know
Derek
his
Jeter not
percent?
unanimous?
I don't know.
But oh, remember also Derek Jeter. He was the only Hall of Famer this year.
Oh,
I think. Wait, am I reading that right?
Fame votes. I'm gonna look up if he was. Oh, Yeah, he was not Hall of Famer. He was not unanimously selected.
Hmm. Oh, Mariano
Oh,
Rivera was you. Yeah,
yeah.
Mariano was, which is a no doubter. But I think Ichiro
Derek
has.
Jeter. Yeah, sorry. Derek
I think
Jeter received the next highest percentage, 99.74.
right.
Crazy.
I I don't know. Yeah, I think people maybe whoever didn't vote for Derek Jeter
With
must have something against the Yankees or doesn't like how he wasn't super flashy or I don't know. He should have been
well,
unanimous also.
I see. This is the thing. Ichiro had such a great year, but he was with the Mariners. Now, I'm not discounting his stats, but
Hmm.
I don't know if he'd become unanimous. Maybe because he didn't
Yeah, he
have that
hasn't won a
success.
ring.
Yeah, I mean, why wasn't Ken Griffey unanimous? It's probably because of the postseason. Maybe the
That's
injuries.
true. Yeah, Ken Griffey's career wasn't too long though compared to Ichiro's. Who's ever
Yeah,
gonna have who's how many gold gloves did he say he had?
uh, Ken Griffey or
No, Ichiro.
Ichiro. He had 17 Gold Gloves,
Who's ever
10.
gonna have some players don't even play 17 years, you know? I
Yeah,
think if he's not, I might throw a tantrum.
yeah. I
But
mean,
anyways,
it's insane. It is insane how long he played for.
yeah.
I mean, 28 careers in the span of MLB and overseas, where I think he played for the Japanese league. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's crazy. But it's also interesting because he doesn't have the hit record. It's Pete Rose, right?
Yeah, another
Because they don't
controversial
count
player.
those hits overseas.
Right,
So
right.
I don't know. It's very cool. Um,
One of a
uh,
kind for sure.
yeah. Let's see, do you have any more baseball players or should we move on to
As far as
other?
yeah, I don't have any more baseball players to talk about, but we have a lot of other players that we want to talk about, in other
Yeah.
sports. But first, actually, Jackie Robinson.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
no-brainer. Though we don't
Of
even need to
course.
like talk about who he is.
Yeah,
I think if you don't know him by now, you're not a baseball fan.
yeah, he was crucial to where the game is now. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I didn't do enough research to do justice. So, um, if you don't know, look him up, Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, or watches the movie at least. That gives a pretty good sense of who he is. And
Yeah.
I mean,
What
he
I think that
changed
movie
he
yeah,
changed the world really,
he
and
did. So
just
we're not discounting it, but
yeah.
we didn't do too much
He's
research
so
on it, but
famous we don't need to talk about him. That's what he
yeah.
is.
Let's continue with basketball and kind
Okay,
of knock
yeah.
him off, and then we can go. I just also wanted to bring up one last thing
Hmm.
about LeBron James. He went to the finals 8 straight years. 8 straight years of going to the finals. Wow, that's crazy. Talk about people not being in the league for 8 years. You can't even
LeBron
go
will
to
be
the
a good
finals.
GM. LeBron will be a good GM after he retires.
But we saw that with MJ, and we'll talk about MJ right now. But MJ is his Hornets.
But he's an owner, right? Is he a
Yeah,
GM too?
no, but he kind of
Yeah,
does the
he's always a
operations.
part of it.
Yeah, let's talk about MJ. We have that documentary that came out, the
Hmm.
ESPN one, 8-piece documentary series. Um, I thought it was interesting. I think he was definitely the one player that put Nike on the map,
Hmm.
and kind of gave. Um, I wouldn't say he gave Griffey the ability to go there, but it definitely gave Nike the confidence to reach out to Griffey.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, yeah,
And like he, I mean, he changed pop culture too. Like even
exactly.
to this day, he has a shoe named after his last name.
I
So
know.
he definitely was a trailblazer in that aspect. I mean, his clothing line still exists, and I mean, people are always going to remember his tongue sticking out. The iconic dunks he had. Um, I mean, honestly, like I couldn't tell you enough about him as far as how he played, or like if he was a 3-point shooter or not, or if he was a slasher. But all I know is he was super influential for the Bulls, and he's
Yeah,
respected across the world.
I think it was also interesting. He was kind of that one player to lead that 1992 Dream Team. So
Mhm.
that speaks a lot to his character, but also his ability on the court. Like he was the one that they first reached out to. This is when Larry Birds and Magic Johnsons are still in the league. So
Mhm.
definitely a player that changed the landscape of the NBA to where it
Mhm.
is now.
Yeah.
But one interesting thing I found was that he was credited for adding more inches to the shorts. So you know how like
Oh, because they used to wear short shorts?
yeah. So he talked to the team's manufacturer champion
Mhm.
to drop the seams a little bit because he had a habit of tugging on the shorts while playing defense. So a pretty cool piece of trivia knowledge right there. Um,
So he
definitely,
did that to get an advantage?
well, maybe he just liked it. I know he brought that. So he brought that when he
That's
was with
interesting.
North Carolina. He still had the long shorts, but he brought it back to the NBA. Another player that is super impactful, I think, is Dirk Nowitzki, and kind of his impact on the European culture
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
Um, he was drafted in 1998, and I think everybody knows his one-legged fadeaway.
Mhm.
Um, he kind of was that. He kind of broke the mold of per se Europeans might be soft,
Mhm.
um, and he kind of. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer.
Mhm.
He won the MVP. He won the MVP in 2007,
Mhm.
and he beat LeBron's Miami Heat team, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
he definitely has that. Like, he kind of gave the confidence to everybody else
Mhm.
that Europeans can play basketball.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so
I think he also changed the position too, like, he was a
exactly,
power forward, a tall power forward that could shoot,
yeah,
and that I think that was still kind of rare at the time, and now so many people, it's not rare for a power forward to shoot threes nowadays, so and have a good fadeaway, so
exactly. I think we do see these guys, these taller guys now. I mean, Porzingis,
Yeah, exactly.
other. So yeah, he definitely gave confidence and showed the NBA and the world that Europeans can play basketball.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think. Do you have any other basketball players that you can name off that
Yeah, I
might
mean,
be?
Yao Ming was another trailblazer for, foreign players. We haven't seen a lot of, successful Chinese players in the league, but he definitely increased the interest because I mean China was already a country that kind of enjoyed basketball and it was pretty competitive there, but it definitely raised the level. Yao Ming also helped with like just foreign business in terms of the NBA. Like now
Hmm.
we have see players going to the NBA. They have preseason games in China. Sorry, did I say that? We have
You're right.
business doing business, in China as far as NBA partnerships and his preseason games in China. He opened the door. I mean, he's also was one of the tallest, to ever one of the tallest players to succeed in the NBA, and that
Yeah,
was really cool. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. Um, yeah,
he
just
is
another
seven
foreign
six.
trailblazer.
Definitely a tall dude. 7'6". I think he
Yeah,
is one of the tallest guys to play.
yeah,
But it's crazy. Yeah, exactly what you said. I mean, you hit it on the nail or hit on the head. He he paved the way for the NBA in China. Um, just his 2 years before he was drafted,
mhm,
I think they started playing preseason games in China, and now stars that don't might kind of diminish in the NBA can now go to China and
mhm,
be successful there. So he definitely opened the door. I think that's a great player.
mhm.
Yeah. Should we go to the NFL?
Yeah.
What are your
First
picks?
player I'm going to talk about is Tom Brady.
Nice.
A lot of people don't like Tom Brady, but I respect him a lot for what he's done in his career. Even as a Seahawks fan, a lot of Seahawks fans don't like Tom Brady for good reason.
Hmm.
But I mean, he brings so much energy to the game, and I mean, he's such a seasoned veteran. And right, he was a sixth round pick, and no one thought he'd ever make an impact. But when he had the opportunity to take Drew Bledsoe's job, he did, and he never looked back. And the rest is history. So a lot of
Yeah,
respect for him.
I think he has been kind of an underdog, and I know that's weird to say because he's won so many Super Bowls, but going back to college, I mean, he wasn't a five-star commit out of going. playing for Michigan.
Mhm.
I mean, he was a backup and he had to work his way. And then same thing with the NFL. I mean, this is a guy that embodies working hard can pay off, and you can have a great career. You might not be the flashiest.
Mhm.
You might not have a cannon of an arm,
Mhm.
but it all takes hard work. I
Mhm.
think that's a great pick. My guy is Michael Vick.
Mhm.
Um, I think Michael Vick kind of kind of broke the mold for quarterbacks. You
Yeah.
know, you didn't see these rushers. I mean, Randall Cunningham could be one, but
Mhm.
not to the extent of Michael Vick. I mean, he wasn't the greatest passer. I think he had a career completion rate of 56%,
Mhm.
but he ran, and that's the thing. That was what made him so special, was
Mhm.
his ability to run and be a threat with his legs.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think you know, and I think everybody knows that his Madden player was unreal. So like
Yeah.
just like everybody, I think from reports and like seeing like what players are now, like Lamar Jackson, which we
Uh-huh.
can get into,
Right.
but like Robert Griffin III, Vince Young, Cam
Mhm.
Newton, and
Mhm.
maybe Russell Wilson, like
Yeah.
those guys, he paved the way. Well, yeah, he paved the way for those guys to be like, okay, I can play quarterback, I can succeed here,
Mhm.
even if I can run and like I might not have the best arm, but
Yeah.
I think he is an impactful guy, and I do think his reputation is tarnished.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, obviously
Unfortunately.
because of his whole thing, but on the field, I think he was an impactful player.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree. Yeah, Michael Vick, unfortunately, just I mean, with this whole off-field, actions, it really diminished how good of a player he was and his career. Um, I think it's really unfortunate because he was such a good player, and I think he deserves more credit. But again, like it cancels out because of what he did with the whole dogfighting. But yeah, that's all I have on him. Do you have
yeah.
any other NFL players?
Um, I think do you want to go into that soccer?
Yeah, I just want to quickly touch on one player who's kind of a trailblazer and legend in the U.S.
Yeah, go for it.
Landon Donovan. He played for the Earthquakes, for the Galaxy. I mean, arguably one of the best MLS players to ever play. And I mean, he's made his way to England, the English Premier League. Played for Everton for a couple of years, and pretty made a pretty good impact. And he was a trailblazer for not only U.S. soccer when MLS was still trying to kind of gain traction in the U.S. He was there during that time. He showed and proved that U.S. soccer is talented and can play in Europe. And now we see U.S. soccer players playing all over the world, in Germany, in England, and Spain. So I think he's a very important player in the kind of the U.S. soccer world, and he had a huge impact during the World Cup also. So
Yeah, did he play for the Sounders? Didn't he play for the
no,
Sounders? He did.
he did not play for the Sounders.
Who played for the Sounders that
Clint
came from
Dempsey.
Clint Dempsey?
Clint Dempsey's another important player. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
I think being able to watch him as when he was in Seattle, I thought was pretty special too.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
Similar to Landon Donovan as well.
exactly,
Similar career
yeah.
path. Yeah.
But now you see more and more players coming uh, from Europe
Hmm.
and playing in the MLS, which is really cool to see,
Exactly. Yeah,
and
that's exactly.
kind of bringing more awareness to the game. And
Hmm.
hopefully, we can get to that standard of um, the European leagues, but
Hmm.
probably not.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Sue Bird and WNBA?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, as a Seattle fan, we have to give credit to Sue Bird, who's been a Seattle legend for so long, and then also Diane Taurasi, who's kind of been
Hmm.
her equal competitor. I don't know if there's any other examples. You just like maybe like a Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady. I don't know kind of comparison, but
Okay, no, that's a good one.
Sue Bird was the number one pick in 2002. Taurasi was the number one pick in 2004.
Mm.
Bird's 39, Taurasi's 38. But I mean, they both had such a huge impact on the WNBA, and the WNBA is still trying to gain traction in the U.S. I think I mean, just women's sports in general. I think women's sports deserves a lot of credit because they're the best women athletes in the world.
Hmm.
And I don't like it when people say, "Oh, they're boring to watch." Like, it doesn't matter. You should, show them respect as a sports fan. But Sue Bird and Taurasi have made such huge impact on the WNBA. They've made the sport really fun to watch. They're on the tail ends of their career, but I mean, Bird has, used her social platform, to really act on political and social justice issues. Like, she was hosting ESPYS recently. She's an advocate for women empowerment, and LGBTQ. So I think very important players, not only in the NBA, WNBA, but for female athletes in general. Um, and I mean, Bird won a couple a couple of WNBA championships as a Storm player, and again has filled the void for a men's pro basketball list city. They've
Mhm.
made basketball, possible in Seattle without the Storm or the Sonics. So a lot of respect for her, and I mean, they're still good. They have Breanna Stewart now, one of the best college women's basketball players ever, too. So um, yeah, really cool what they've done, I think, for the sport.
Yeah, definitely when I think of the WNBA, I think of Sue Bird, and that's who I think of, and I think she has kind of like an impact that MJ and LeBron have. Like, when you think of
Hmm.
the NBA, as Seattle fans, you think of Sue Bird and her play on the court
Hmm.
and off the court. So yeah, that's another great icon. That finishes our Icons and Trailblazers segment. Thanks so much for watching, and till next time,
Yeah, make sure to follow and subscribe Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts,
we're
Stitcher,
everywhere.
everywhere. We are everywhere.
Shoots.